What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy. Welcome back to some more Bible reading stuff. So, we're getting into Genesis chapter 23 this time. The last chapter, we had Abraham nearly sacrificing his son Isaac as a show display test of his faith in God. I say nearly because, it didn't actually happen. Right at the moment when he was about to, an angel said, "No, stop. Okay, you've proven you're faithful." And there was another animal that came for the sacrifice instead. But anyway, so it turns out Isaac does indeed get to live and, begin the chain of Abraham's promised descendants. But anyway, let's just dive right into chapter 23 here. So, when Sarah was 127 years old, she died at Kiriath Arba, now called Hebron, in the land of Canaan. There Abraham mourned and wept for her. Then, leaving her body, he said to the Hittite elders, "Here I am, a stranger and a foreigner among you. Please tell me a piece of land so I can give my wife a proper burial." Okay, so I guess I'm still not entirely sure, if Canaan, is where, that's not, as far as we knew, where he was living previously, right? Because, the whole kind of fiasco with Abraham's servants and Abimelech's and that whole thing, it said he was in the land of the Philistines, and that was also, I believe it was also specifically called Gerar or something like that. But prior to that, it said he had moved south. So I just am wondering if that was actually Canaan, or if Canaan was more just the name of, where he lived, in a sense. I don't think the meaning of Canaan necessarily translates to promised land or anything like that, but maybe I'm just mistaken on that. But in any case, I don't think he was living in Canaan when last we knew, so I'm wondering what took him back to Canaan. But either way, it's not like that's where he was born and raised, so he was still kind of a foreigner in a sense. Which I guess, kind of, it kind of makes sense of the whole, here I am, a stranger and a foreigner kind of saying. But in any case, so Sarah dies, and of course, he needs a place to bury her. So, anyway, verse 5. The Hittites replied to Abraham, "Listen, my lord, you are an honored prince among us. Choose the finest of our tombs and bury her there. No one here will refuse to help you in this way." Then Abraham bowed low before the Hittites and said, "Since you are willing to help me in this way, be so kind as to ask Efron, son of Zohar, to let me buy his cave at Machpelah, down at the end of his field. I will pay the full price in the presence of witnesses, so I will have a permanent burial place for my family." Alright, so I guess Abraham is viewed favorably by the Hittites, so they were like, "Yeah, no problem. Where do you want out of all this land that's already been, set aside as burial grounds, just pick a spot and sure, we'll let you have that land to bury your wife. But then Abraham's thinking a little further ahead because, he knows obviously at this point that he's old and will die before long, and is probably also thinking that, other people in his family will eventually die and need a place to be buried. So rather than just thinking of a single tomb or a single person's worth of land or whatever, he's, trying to get something that would be a longer term solution. Anyway, verse 10. Efron was sitting there among the others, and he answered Abraham as the others listened, speaking publicly before all the Hittite elders of the town. "No, my lord," he said to Abraham, "please listen to me. I will give you the field and the cave. Here in the presence of my people, I give it to you. Go and bury your dead." So Abraham wanted to pay for the land and the what did he say there specifically? The cave, right. Abraham wanted to pay for it, but Efron's like, no, we're on good terms. I will give this to you so you can go ahead and do this. I guess they were at least nice enough to think that, he shouldn't have to pay money just to bury his wife or whatever. But anyway, verse 12. Abraham again bowed low before the citizens of the land, and he replied to Efron as everyone listened. "No, listen to me. I will buy it from you. Let me pay the full price for the field so I can bury my dead there." And Efron answered Abraham, "My lord, please listen to me. The land is worth 400 pieces of silver, but what is that between friends? Go ahead and bury your dead." Okay, so I'm curious. It says in the Hebrew that it was 400 shekels, which was about 10 pounds or 4.6 kilograms. So, in any case, I don't know if Efron was just saying that, they're essentially that they're such good friends that, even that isn't really a big deal. Or if maybe it was a mix of that and, him saying that, okay, the land's worth about this much, which really isn't a lot. Whether it's because, they all had a lot at that time, or, those people specifically, it says they were elders among the Hittites, who generally probably would have had more than, people who weren't elders. So, not sure if this is more of a, oh, it's not worth that much because we're all so rich here, or if it's genuinely, not really a big ask. I'm not entirely sure what, the approximate value of that would be, and I'm not sure anybody, maybe some of the best biblical scholars could give you an estimate, but it's hard to really know what exactly 400 shekels would have been worth at that time, especially among those people. Anyway, verse 16. So Abraham agreed to Ephron's price and paid the amount he had suggested, 400 pieces of silver, weighed according to the market standard. The Hittite elders witnessed the transaction. So I still think Efron was trying to say, no, don't worry about it. It's worth this much, but come on, that's not a big deal. We're good enough friends that's pittance. Go ahead and take it. But I think Abraham then still insisted, all right, you say it's worth this much, here, take it. I mean, if that's really not a big deal, then it's also not a big deal if I pay this price to you for it. Is probably kind of his thinking. So anyway, verse 17. So Abraham bought the plot of land belonging to Efron at Machpelah, near Mamre. Okay. Anyway, this included the field itself, the cave that was in it, and all the surrounding trees. It was transferred to Abraham as his permanent possession in the presence of the Hittite elders at the city gate. Then Abraham buried his wife Sarah there in Canaan, in the cave of Machpelah, near Mamre, also called Hebron. So the field and the cave were transferred from the Hittites to Abraham for use as a permanent burial place. So, it didn't really say at this point that it was, near Mamre, but that had been mentioned a couple of times previously, so it's not like it was a completely unfamiliar plot of land to him, I would imagine. Maybe that was part of the reason he wanted that specifically. I don't know. But in any case, the transaction went through, it was verified, and so now that became Abraham's possession. And with that, he, of course, buried Sarah, and I assume it was also used in the future for similar purposes. But I will call out right now the fact that, it keeps saying in parentheses, also called Hebron. That particular name of a place will pop up in the future, I am quite certain. But, yeah, that's actually it. That was kind of a short chapter. The next one is significantly longer, so that's going to end up being a much longer video. But, whatever. I don't need that to interject its way into this video. So, I guess that's it. Not really too much else to say about that, if you ask me. Other than, if anybody knows an approximate value of the 400, pieces of silver / shekels, then leave a comment down below there. Because I honestly have no idea. I don't know if this is supposed to... because we know Abraham had a lot of stuff. So it's fairly reasonable to assume that other people he knew, especially elders among the Hittites, would have also had a lot. So, it's reasonable to think that they were just really rich, and yeah, the land might have been somewhat valuable, but, because of their relative wealth and their friendship, it didn't seem like a big deal to, wow, I'm already blanking on the guy's name. Efron. So yeah, if you know more about that, leave a comment down below, along with any other thoughts related to this, or other Bible stuff, other video ideas, suggestions, thoughts, whatever. Otherwise, you know the deal. Like, share, subscribe, click the bell, all that good stuff. And if you don't know all that, just look down in the description for more info. So yeah, that's going to do it. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I will see you for the next chapter. But until then, stay cool, people.